And obviously, they're not going to name specific customers and call them out, particularly if things are bad for them. But, passing through the numbers, it's hard to go past the fact that this is probably at least partially Intel's doing, that Intel, as you know, is going to spend a lot less money on plants and equipment because it can't afford to. And that has a real, huge impact on a company like ASML and the chip equipment sector in general.
Ian, one more for you, and then we want to bring in Mackenzie on her Nvidia scoop from earlier today. When you think about where ASML is in the semiconductor manufacturing process in the universe with these huge, incredible machines, what are the other companies we need to be watching as a result of the news we got from ASML today?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've seen that happen already. We've seen Applied Materials trade off. We've seen KLA Tenco trade off. We've also seen Lam Research get hit, and we should probably look out for when Asia opens, what's going to happen to Tokyo Electron. These are all companies that are key suppliers of this technology.
As we should point out, 28 names in the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index are lower today, only 2 to the upside. Mackenzie, Hawkins, come on in on your scoop here. What do we know? What's the Biden administration seriously considering?
So for the past 2 years since the U.S. first implemented sweeping export controls on advanced semiconductors, a lot of the focus has been on China. And around a year ago, the U.S. actually added trade restrictions to more than 40 additional countries because of concerns that if Nvidia or AMD or some other AI chip maker sent those chips to places like the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, they could somehow wind up in Beijing's hands. But over the past couple of months in particular, Biden administration officials have been looking at a range of other national security risks specific to these regions in the Middle East, Central and Southeast Asia, and parts of North Africa. Things like human rights and surveillance concerns, counterintelligence risks to U.S. intelligence personnel around the world. And they're beginning to think, how high a volume of shipments should we allow Nvidia and other AI chip makers to send to these countries to let them stand up their own AI infrastructure. So the latest development is that they're considering capping the total volume of sales that Nvidia and its rivals would be able to ship to places like countries in the Persian Gulf.
Are there ways that countries and companies that operate in these countries can get around restrictions such as these by using compute power in other parts of the world?
So these countries are actually trying to stand up massive amounts of compute power themselves. Of course, an AI company can train its models on data centers that aren't located physically next door. But a big part of the Middle East AI push is to actually stand up these data centers. And so they're desperate to import chips from Nvidia, which is the far and away industry standard, the gold standard, and several generations ahead of any offerings from China. But the U.S. government is not wholesale blocking the sales of these chips. They're saying, okay, you can have these chips so long as you meet certain security requirements of ours in the licensing process. And all of the licenses together won't add up to more than a threshold that we'll have to wait and see if they are able to determine.